In today's video, I'm going to share with everyone what can you expect to deliver a baby in Ontario, Canada. And at the end of the video, I'm going to share something really exciting with everyone, so make sure you stay to the end. And as always, if you do like my content, please click the subscribe button below and subscribe to my channel, and also of course turn on your notifications so that you'll be notified for each new videos I upload. This is Liana. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to let everyone know what can you expect when you are having a baby here in Canada, most specifically as in Ontario. So after you did your pregnancy test at home and it shows as 2 lines, so you're suspecting that you're pregnant, then the next step is to book an appointment with your family doctor, and then a family doctor most likely go through a blood test for you, and that blood test, it will actually tell you what is your HCG level. HCG is a high levels hormone that present at your early pregnancy, so the higher the better. So my HCG at that time was about 3,622, I think it was. So my family doctor said it was pretty high, meaning that my pregnancy was confirmed, and then they booked me in for my first ultrasound at about six weeks, I think. So that ultrasound is actually to tell you the approximate age of the embryo. So after that ultrasound, they will most likely guess what is your expected delivery date as well. Also, your family doctor is going to ask you which hospital you would like to deliver the baby at, and refer you to an OB accordingly. And within a few business days, the OB's office will contact you and book you in for your first appointment. So my first appointment was when I was about 8 weeks pregnant. And during the first appointment, the OB is going to measure your weight and your blood pressure. And because that time is still pretty early, so they can't really track the baby's heartbeat at that point of time. For a subsequent OB's appointment, they probably will measure your weight, blood pressure, and the heartbeat to make sure that everything is expected. During my first appointment, other than measuring my weight and blood pressure, my OB also gave me a package. So that package consists of a consent forms and birthing plan, and also a pre-registration form. So the consent forms are mainly to give them consent to move me to C-section if they deem to be necessary, or if there need to blood transfusion as well. So you have to give consent for those. You have to bring the consent form for your next OB's appointment. Therefore, birthing plan is mostly asking you if you mind using painkillers, epidurals, morphine, or anything like that for your labor day, and if you would like to deliver your baby in a bathtub, or if you would like to use the yoga balls and everything like that. I circled all of them, but I did not have time to use any of them. I probably only used morphine, but I didn't manage to use any other stuff because of how fast my baby came. And if you would like to find out how I have a fast natural delivery without epidural, please do watch my previous video. Even though you chose all of them, this does not mean that you're going to use all of them. It all depends on the situation at that time. This birthing plan, I would recommend you to put them in your hospital bag, because you would have to bring this with you on the day that you're going to be admitted to the hospital. The nurse is going to ask you for the birthing plan. So the last thing that they gave me is a hospital pre-registration form. So this form is basically telling them which room you would prefer, like private, semi-shared rooms, or how you would like the room to have, etc, etc. So this pre-registration form, you will need to hand it into the hospital when you register with that hospital. For mine, I have to go to the hospital and do my registration after 26 weeks of pregnancy. So I do recommend you to do that earlier the better. And one last thing that OB actually did tell me to buy is the parking pass, because you probably have a lot of appointments to go to, and you also, during the labor day, your husband probably want to park the car overnight and stuff like that. So it will be more worth it if you can buy a parking pass for the hospital. Then the OB also did tell me the schedules that I need to see him on. So for from 12 weeks to 28 weeks, I will have to see him every 4 weeks. Then from 30 weeks to 36 weeks, I will have to see him every 2 weeks. Then from 37 weeks onwards, it will be every week to see him until the arrival of the baby. And if at 42 weeks you still do not show any signs of labor, then your doctor will most likely induce you. Unless you do have like other health concerns, then the doctor probably will induce you earlier, or they will even schedule you in for a C-section. And I do know that most expecting mamas wanted to know when you can go for your ultrasound, right? Because that's the only time they can see your babies. Unless you do pay money and go for some private ultrasounds. Otherwise, you will only have your ultrasound for about 3 to 4 times. I was scheduled in for my ultrasound at 16 weeks, and together with the ultrasound, I will also have to do a blood test. So that is actually to tell if your baby have a high risk of Down syndrome. At 20 weeks, there's another ultrasound, and that is for anatomy scan, I think. And also at 20 weeks, the technician will most likely be able to tell you what is the gender of the baby, so you can definitely check that out. But I do know some moms, their ultrasound center doesn't tell them the gender, and they actually have to pay money to go to private ultrasound. So I think that really depends on which ultrasound center you go to. And then for most mamas, at 32 weeks, that will be your last ultrasound. They will do more detailed measurements for you. But for my case, because during the 32 weeks ultrasound, the technician suspect that there is a cyst in my baby's kidney, but they are not too sure. So my doctor has scheduled me for another ultrasound at around 36 weeks. Baba, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to flip over? You trying to flip over? And then at 36 weeks, thank goodness that my baby doesn't have any cysts. So after 36 weeks, I did not go for any more ultrasound, and that was the last one before my baby is born. Oh, you still managed to flip over even after this rolling thing? Yeah? Apart from your ultrasound, there are also other tests to check the well-being of you and your baby. The first important one that I would think of is the gestational diabetes test. That's mainly to test your blood sugar level to make sure that you are not diabetic. My first test was at 26 weeks. So that day you have to go to the lab without eating anything. So I do recommend mamas to book the appointment early in the morning so that you're not starving yourself for the entire day. Once you get there, they'll give you a bottle of sugar water to drink. For my first test, the sugar water was in orange, and that really doesn't taste that bad. It's actually pretty good. They will make you sit there for about an hour and take your blood test and also a urine sample. And I think the reason for them making you sit there and not letting you leave the lab is because they don't want you to move too much after drinking the sugar water, because that might affect the test result. But for my first test, my OB office contacted me within the next 2 business days and said, well, your test is within the healthy range, but it's at the higher end, so they would like to book me in for a second test just to confirm that everything is all right. So I had my second test, and the same thing, you have to go in without eating anything. And this time around is even sweeter sugar water. And that sugar water was in white, and honestly, it really made me nauseous. That doesn't taste good at all. But after having that, this time around, they didn't take my urine sample. But after, I still have to sit there and wait for my blood to be taken. They took my first blood test that day. After an hour, they have to wait for another 2 hours. And they take another blood test. So basically, they're taking you 2 blood samples during that day. One is an hour after the sugar water, and the other one is 3 hours after the sugar water. So you have to plan yourself for that 3 hours time in the lab. Yeah, that's for gestational diabetes. At 38 weeks, that's when your doctor, when you go for your OB's appointment, that's the first time that my OB did an internal check for me to check if your cervix are softened or if you are dilated and how dilated you are. So at 38 weeks, I think my OB did tell me that I was 3 centimeters dilated. but there's still no signs of labor and have my baby at about 39 weeks. If you can't remember all these schedules, that's okay. I have all the schedules listed out in my description box below, so you can definitely take a look at that. I really do hope that these schedules can help you well prepared during your pregnancy and also have a stress-free pregnancy. Please do remember to click on the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. I will have a lot more things coming along with bulb. And I really do hope that the things that I share will be useful to all the expecting mamas and also existing moms. And the thing that I'm gonna announce today is that I'm going to have a dad edition for Life with Bob. So my husband will be on a video showing how his life has been with Bob, and I hope it will be familiar or it will be useful to the expecting fathers and existing fathers. So please keep an eye out for my next video. And bye for now.